For an increasing number of growers, biostimulants are providing major benefits for yield and quality, and that's not just in the U.S., but internationally as well. Welcome to the Redox Grows Technical Podcast. I'm Jim Morris with Redox Bio-Nutrients, and I'm very excited today to have two international experts that will be talking about biostimulants and value-added fertilizers as well. And these two gentlemen are from Dunham, which is a globally recognized market research and consulting firm, and they are specializing in the biological space. The amount of knowledge that these gentlemen and this organization has, it's absolutely incredible, and I feel very blessed to be able to speak with Manel Cervera and Vatren Jurin today. Gentlemen, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hi, hello, thank you.
So Manel is Managing Partner, Chief Commercial Officer at Dunham. Both of these gentlemen, by the way, have decades of experience in the industry. And Manel, you and many members of your organization were at the Biostimulants World Congress in Barcelona. You live in Spain, so it was a pretty easy commute to get there, I imagine. Tell me about that. How was the event this year?
Well, was really interesting. I think I've been in all the World Biostimulant conferences that have been celebrated in the last years. I remember they hit a record of attendees in 2019, also in Barcelona. But then, of course, since the pandemics, we had not recovered again the same numbers. This time, they told me there were around 1,500 attendees, which is quite a lot for this industry. Lot of exhibitors, and probably, and this is my opinion, of course, because I don't know it, but it's the year I saw more attendees from North America, from Latin America, or from China and Asia, which that means that probably the interest is increasing in this event.
That's great. And Vatren, you were there as well, and I know you had conversations with our head of research, Gifford Gillette. We hope to have even a greater presence in Sacramento next year. You had a good Congress as well, Vatren?
Yeah, I did. I just echoing what Manel said. Very pleasantly surprised the U.S. presence. A couple of years been in for some of these conferences, the U.S. Players weren't traveling well, but for some reason at this conference they were out there. Looks like there's some excitement in the industry. You know, a lot of good science also was presented at the show, so I think that attracted a lot of people in it.
So, Vatren, you have about 30 years of industry experience. Interesting that you started as a grower, which I think gives you an interesting perspective. I'm going to ask you in a moment about value-added fertilizer, which does tie in with biostimulants. But, Manel, why don't we start with just a general definition? What is a biostimulant?
I always used to take the definition of the new European regulation, which also what it's moving on the US, it's also pretty similar to the European Union. But as in Europe, it was probably the first time that at regional level for different markets, for different countries, a common harmonized definition has been found, including the biostimulant world. I will use this one, which we could define biostimulant as any product that stimulates the nutritional processes of plants independently of the nutrients it contains. That's important. I mean, many of the products may contain nutrients and fertilizers, but it's the effect that you are looking for is independent of the nutrient it contains, with the sole aim of improving one or more of the following characteristics of plants or the rhizosphere, which would be the efficiency of nutrient use or nutrient use efficiency, the tolerance to abiotic stress, the qualitative characteristics, or the availability of nutrients contained in the soil or in the rhizosphere. That would be, in a nutshell, what a biostimulant could be defined.
That's a very exciting area because growers need an edge right now. The market is very difficult, and biostimulants can, if they are the proper materials in the proper place, they can really provide a difference. Vatren, let's go to value-added fertilizers. What is a good definition for that?
Yeah. Well, definition, that's the dilemma in our business, right? So, you know, we use the term value-added fertilizer, not that we wanted to add confusion to definitions, but we needed a way to kind of capture what growers do, what formulators do in this technique. You know, many people call it specialty, high value, water soluble. There's many terminologies, but what we coined as value added fertilizer really is a product or a formulation that has three essential components. The foundational component is going to be a nutrient, one of the 16 essential nutrients, or that's kind of the foundation. Then what we call the functional component, and that's primarily a biostimulant, which improves either nutrient assimilation, promotes stress resilience, and optimizes any plant physiological process. And the third component would be additives and compounds like surfactants, chelates, coatings, etc. So that's what the value-added fertilizer was for us. In this very complex market, what we recognized is that we needed to capture some of the uses people are doing with biostimulant, right? My background, I started in plant nutrition and then brought in biostimulants to enhance the nutritional use efficiency of the formulations I did in my prior roles in other companies. So in general, that's how we view value-added fertilizers.
Yeah, a lot of education is going to be needed here. I know that there's a growing understanding, but we also need to convey that to the end user about why it's valuable, what it does, the specific benefits, things of that nature. So, Manel, let's now talk about the report specifically. It's nearly 400 pages long. It's a beautiful report. We have the 2019 report. I was looking at it over the weekend, and that's 250 pages. So this is significantly more pages. Does that mean that there's a greater understanding and a greater popularity with biostimulants? Tell me in general, as the report has proceeded over the years, how much more knowledge and popularity has there been?
Well, yeah, on our side, probably it's been more even an internal evolution in the Dunham trimmer team. I mean, we've been increasing the number of seniors in the team, so everybody has brought into a lot of knowledge and understanding of the industry. We've been doing more and more new clients and more new projects related to the biostimulants, so that really increased our knowledge. It is true that we did include a new segment which we call product use type, or the use type. So how the products are used, which relates to the definitions I mentioned before, to any of the different things we are looking for, and also that of course increase the volume of pages because it's a new segment. Also, we really did I think it's for sure over 35 pages of the trends and drivers, trying to explain a lot and define a lot. Also, we enlarged our technical explanations, our definitions of the different substances. So I think as we've been learning more, we've been increasing more. There was already a lot of interest in this segment, but certainly I would say, yeah, it's been increasing, especially because most of the big players and even investors or other companies have really been focusing more and more on this industry. So yeah, probably it's true what you say, that also it seems that there is more interest in this segment as well.
I was personally thrilled, I know our company was, to see that we're a top 20 biostimulant company in the world. So that was really one of the cool stats that we gleaned out of it. The industry is about $4.5 billion currently, with I think a growth rate around 10%, and could equate to about $8 billion in sales when it gets to 2030. What are some of the things that are fueling the growth in biostimulants?
Well, I always highlight when talking about what are really the real drivers. We always talk about we need to feed a growing population, and we need to do that with sometimes less resources, or maybe less quality resources of soil and water, or with more recurrent impacts of abiotic stress or climate stresses. So we need to do that, and we need to do it in a sustainable way. We need to produce more, and we need to keep sustainable. So those two definitions, intensivity, produce more, and sustainability, they seem contradictory. How you fit that? So, well, I think biostimulants, they really help a lot to link these two needs, to produce more quality, but to do it in a more sustainable way. This is the main driver. But to be honest, I'm son of farmers. My father was farmer. I've been talking with a lot of farmers. And when you ask to a farmer why they are including biostimulants into their toolbox, let's say, none of them probably is thinking on these big mega trends at global level. I think there are two things which I always mention. When we go to fruits and vegetables, I talk a lot about willingness to pay by the consumer. I mean, is the consumer able to pay for, let's say, vegetables out of season, or better size, better color, better maturity, all these quality constraints? If the consumer is open and ready to pay more for that, the farmer will be really more open to adopt biostimulants to improve those characteristics, because the market will, let's say, reward this investment. Return on investment is always crucial for any farmer, so we need to keep that in mind. And then I like to say another one, which, yes, it links with what I mentioned before, which is the tolerance of the plant in front of abiotic stress or management stress sometimes. I mean, we all do mistakes, or we all need to react to different management practices that they impact the plant, or the weather may impact the plant. And in a context where we need to produce more and more, any impact can be really dramatic at the outcome level. So any product, any substances that can help the plant to keep more resilient to these problems, and there will be probably good return on investment if the farmer decides to adopt it.
So, Vatren, is this similar for value-added fertilizers, where abiotic stress, nutrient efficiency, those are some of the key aspects, the key drivers for growth in that arena as well?
Yes, primarily, value-add fertilizers are, been formulated or designed with not only with an agronomic intention, right? The formulators, such as your company, will focus on the physiological needs of the crop stage and prepare it for the stress to come. So you'll see people, using zinc and phosphorus, for example, with some seaweeds for root growth, right? You see calcium and humic acids for temperature tolerance, manganese, iron, zinc, and another proprietary blend of biostimulant for herbicide stress mitigation, right? For post-herbicide applications. So the drive is definitely differentiation, first from agronomically value, but also margins are tight in the world of fertilizer, and people are trying to find more value to the agronomics, not only from an agronomic perspective, but also how they can gain more value and add a quality product to the grower. So it is the VAFs, or the value-add fertilizers' main function is that synergy between biostimulants and plant nutrients.
So, Manel, amino acids and protein hydrolysates are the leading product segments for biostimulants. Why?
My opinion of why amino acids and protein hydrolysates come to be the major segment and follow closely by the seaweeds, my opinion is that probably they are very, what I call, polyvalent substances. I mean, whether in terms of application, if it's foliar, soil, whether in terms of formulation, and well, Vatren is the expert on formulation in the team, so I'm not going to explain a lot on that, but they allow for different kinds of formulations. And also, and very important also, they allow you also to segment at price level. You can work at different price segments, price quality segments. And I think that gives these products this polyvalency. And that say, I have to mention that US, and there are other countries where amino acids are not the main segment. In US, I already found in the first report that humic acids and fulvic acids were the major segment. You've got a very strong industry, local industry and local mining companies as well, and that probably have give US farmers a long history on the use of these kind of substances. Although one friend of mine in the industry of US, he tells me that the amino acids, he says, are the silent biostimulant. In his opinion, even in US, the amino acids and protein hydrolysates probably would come out to be more than we may think at the starting point.
So the U.S. is the largest single biostimulant market, but your report calls a tectonic shift where the growing popularity is. Can you please explain what parts of the world are gaining tremendous ground in interest in biostimulants?
Yeah, I mean, and that's always interesting if we look it on absolute figures. So we go to the really big countries, big markets like US, followed by Brazil, or then China, or India, or any of these big markets. But if we look it on relative figures, I mean, which regions, sub-regions are really growing the fastest? Some of them, they may be growing from scratch, but they are really growing very fast. So the level of adoption, they are eager to adopt and to incorporate more biostimulants. I would say that there are many regions. I could tell you East Central and East Europe, from north to south, they are really growing adoption. Central Asia, Southeast Asia, very important one. Still in countries like China, we still find a lot of growth. Sub-Saharan Africa, we really found it still difficult. The value chain still needs a lot of readjustment to really afford a bigger level of adoption of biostimulants. And then many regions in Latin, Central America, even Argentina, where until recently the regulation was not very, very suitable or fitting for level of adoption. So there are many regions. Of course, each one with different starting or with different actual values, with different drivers in terms of crops or uses, but there are new growing areas, and that makes me feel optimistic that at global level we will still see good growth figures in the years to come.
And it goes back to the event in Barcelona where there were so many people from so many countries. I mean, it just all is one other step showing that there is really global interest in this. And Vatren, I want to ask you about value-added fertilizers. Geographically speaking, is there a market leader or some areas that are growing very dramatically?
Well, it's a good question. Asia, Southeast Asia is probably the leading, about what we consider about 40% of the value-add fertilizer market. The value-add fertilizer market is about a $28 billion market today. We also believe that probably North America and the U.S. is a little higher than we originally anticipated, as it comes down, Jim, again to definitions, right? Even as of today, people don't know what a value-add fertilizer is, or even a biostimulant. What we identify is that probably in the more modernized ag systems, 80% of the biostimulants are eventually delivered to the grower with a fertilizer blend, either independently or as a formulation. Therefore, kind of, gives you a more perspective of what Manel is sharing with us today about the depth of this as a key technology for today's systems. But to bottom line, Southeast Asia, followed by North America and South America, with Brazil's very, very closely catching up to North America, thanks to the Brazilian growth. And one more of interest is Central America. If you look at all those countries together, their plantation crops, the high coffee's become such a high value crop. So a lot more uses of these sophisticated products are kicking into those acres. In banana, due to the challenges of a disease pressure, they're getting up to 12 to 15 foliar sprays a season to manage sigatoka, and therefore becomes a delivery system for biostimulants and a delivery system for value-add fertilizer. So growth of our industries is really connected to adjustments or modernization of agronomic systems that are happening today.
When you mentioned Asia, I was fascinated. Our president just got back from a trade trip to Vietnam, and very successful, a lot of opportunity there. So I appreciate hearing your comments on that. And the excitement around the world, I think that bodes well for productive agriculture in the future. So, Manel, back to biostimulants. Are there new emerging areas, other crops that are getting more involved?
I will probably repeat some of the things that Vatren mentioned previously, because in that term, I think the evolution of biostimulant, it's closely linked also to the value-added fertilizer that Vatren mentioned. I mean, even in the biostimulants, I already created a segment called plantations in my first report, and I kept this segment in this new report because what Vatren say, I mean, those many banana plantations, but also even at other level, maybe at a lesser extent, coffee or other crops, they are following a much faster dynamic in terms of growth, level of adoption, and we really created this category because the market dynamics are really more, I would say, even more aggressive than the fruits and veg, where in some places we are already started to find some symptoms of maturity, although still growing, of course. And then one question I always receive is about row crops and cereals. And well, of course, and Vatren already mentioned the case of Brazil. Brazil probably it's a different animal, it's a different country in terms of row crops and cereals. It's one of the few countries where the level of adoption of biostimulant is higher in row crops and cereal. But this is because the conditions where they are really growing, the soya or the sugarcane, under tropical or subtropical conditions where they need to do a lot of applications, so there is more room to include biostimulant as part of your conventional management practices. There's also more pressure on the crop, on the soil health, etc., because you do crops non-stop rotation. So really it's much more even the extensive, what I call extensive crops, are more intensive than what we could see in terms of management, inputs, etc. So in row crops, of course, it's growing faster than fruits and veggies because there's still a lot of room to play. But it's one of the points where I think we will need more innovative trends, more innovative products, bringing more specific actions, probably a much more robust efficacy and replicability of results. Because in many times in row crops and cereals, you need to enter into the application sometimes not at the best moment where you would really like to apply your biostimulant. So we need to see how things evolve. Of course, it will grow very fast, but still we need to see probably innovations to come in the row crop and cereal market.
That will be fascinating to follow. We have had success in the Midwest. I mean, there's millions upon millions of acres of corn, soybeans, wheat. We have a nitrogen optimization product, RDXN, that reduces the synthetic nitrogen by 50% with no loss in yield or quality. These are exciting areas, and I think that I appreciate your comments. It sounds to be supportive that this is a wide open frontier as long as the science is there and the communication, the education, and the value for the grower. At the end of the day, that's what it has to be. So I'm going to pivot briefly before we get to SWOT analysis, which I'm very excited about. But Vatren, you are studying AI, which impacts our lives in many ways and is going to continue to increase to do that. Is AI in any way impacting the work that you're doing?
Yeah, a lot. I mean, it's really, it's probably speeding up research and development on new value-add fertilizer formulations, in shortening length to trial. As you know, the limiting factor in our industry is the trial period, testing, right? If all were a lettuce crop that we could do trials in 45 days would be great, right? But even like you mentioned in row crops, it's just one shot a year, right? One season. So what artificial intelligence is allowing is to very early, our prototypes success rate are going to be a lot higher. There's going to be a lot of foundational science before you do something, with the experience of chemistry, with the experience of understanding how plants manage stress, with understanding how biostimulants behave in connection with nutrients, and all those things. Artificial intelligence is helping accelerate, and so yeah, we're using it quite a bit as we service some of our clients and help them out in that space.
Oh, interesting. That's great. So SWOT analysis time, guys. I know we could spend an hour on this, but Manel, I will start with you. Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats when you look at biostimulants.
Okay, well, to keep it short, I will try to highlight at least one on each one, and then of course we can keep following and developing if needed. But I would say, and a little bit linking on some of the things I mentioned at the beginning, I think the best strength is how well biostimulants fit into global trends. I mean, into a global need of produce, but with a much more efficient and sustainable use of resources, and that's a non-stop trend. I mean, that's a need. I mean, it's a matter of resources, it's a matter of intensivity, it's a matter of quality of resources. So that will continue, and I think that's going to sustain growth of biostimulant market for years. And of course, if we add, and that would be the second, of course, the abiotic stress into this equation, that would be really two good supports for growth in the biostimulant space. Probably for me, the weakness, it's the commoditization risk. I mean, until now, barriers to enter into this industry have not been high at all. That, of course, allow a lot of different players to enter, and also opportunistic players to enter, and that probably has been impacting, even in some occasions, the image that the grower or the user could have on the biostimulants. And that's why it's so important what you mentioned before on your company, on your products, how you develop different products, differentiation attributes on such demanding areas like Midwest and all these areas. I mean, you need to bring value to the farmer. So that's the best solution, but of course we will always have players that we will enter with Me Too products, that's something which it's impacting the industry in some point. Opportunities, I would remark, I do believe that in what I call small or single biostimulant molecules, and it's like innovative trends where some companies are starting to produce or to develop products based on a very specific molecule. So if we do something very specific in terms of composition, it will be also very specific in terms of mode of action. And I think is one of the ways where we can get what you mentioned before as well, these consistency results, this value to the farmer. And I am sure that could be the door, the key that would open the door to the row crops and cereals in a faster way. And that really could change even the growth projections I did. They could change dramatically upwards, these projections. So I do think there are a lot of opportunities there and companies doing very interesting things. And then I still think that willingness to pay from the consumer is a strong driver for growth. And well, we don't know in the uncertain context we are, even I would say even at geopolitical level, how the income levels, how the affordability to pay for different attributes in fruits and veggies, how that will evolve. It can be sustained, or maybe it can impact the willingness to pay by some consumers, and that could probably impact the level of adoption or reduce the farmers' willingness to incorporate new biostimulant tools into their management practices. In a nutshell, those are some of the characteristics, just to mention one on each one, but of course we could find many others, I'm sure of that.
Well, thank you. I know it's hard to cover such an important subject in short time, but you did a wonderful job. And the uncertainty globally is a challenge in many industries, and agriculture is not immune to that. Vatren, when you look at value-added fertilizers, just a quick SWOT analysis.
Sure. There's a strong market growth trajectory. I mean, like I mentioned earlier, we're about $28 billion. The whole fertilizer industry is $280 billion a season, with a growth at about 1 to 1.5% per year of a CAGR. But the value add fertilizer, we've pinned it about 5.5%. So it's a very nice and robust for fertilizer growth, right? Clear environmental and sustainability benefits. It's definitely been proven efficacy in improving nutrient use efficiency, and farmers and acceptance keeps growing. The more you educate a grower, the more they are willing to try and understand these products. What's weaknesses? Complex and fragmented regulatory landscape. Everybody's still that definition, and we come back to definition, right? Was it fit? Doesn't it fit? How you call it? What you call it? So it really, companies like yours in the market need a good farmer education and technical support strategy that is essential and fundamental to mitigate that weakness. Price sensitivity, as commodity markets are challenged, it shortens the opportunity for some of these growers to try technologies like this, and maybe also a lack of industry-wide standardization for product performance. But it's important that the people understand that these are we are held to higher standards, right? And in formulation. So one of the things is there's still quite a bit of loose descriptions, loose definitions, loose understanding of the value-add fertilizer. Opportunity-wise, this growing consumer and regulatory demand for sustainable ag is very appropriate, because we're adding more nutrients to the crop rather than the environment by enhancing formulations with all these chemistries, right? In the end, continues to grow in the row crop market. We calculated that only about 20 to 25% of row crop growers globally are using value-add fertilizers, versus about 60% to 70% in specialty crops. And then, of course, the threats would be economic pressure on farm profitability, the regulatory changes, the barriers or delays or the lines keep changing, and weather, climate variability, impacting different growing regions, growing zones. If you don't keep up with what's happening in the abiotic stress side, your products or your formulations might not perform as what you're claiming they do. So that's kind of a little bit of the summary of the value-add fertilizer space, Jim.
Yeah, I sense positivity. There's certainly hurdles out there, as there are with any part of agriculture, but this can be a fundamental change that benefits everyone from growers all the way through to consumers. Mm-hmm. So I want to ask both of you as a final question. Manel, I'll start with you. Is how does it make you feel when you study this area and you see that there is excitement to make a tangible difference in our food, in our environment, in the health for consumers? Your thoughts on all of that, personally?
Well, personally, I will tell you a short story. But I mean, I've been selling. I started selling these products. I'm a salesperson. I've always been. Now I'm a consultant, but I've always been on sales, and I started to sell these biostimulants 30 years ago, and one of the most difficult, my most difficult clients was my father himself as a farmer. So that helped me to always focus the product development on a technical way. And you mentioned very well, I mean, we need to support the farmer. We need to feed what he really needs, what she really needs. So and it's I have the feeling that I've been in the right side of the product development. I mean, really offering solutions that there is a challenge on demonstrating that this can be a consistent tool, something that you need to incorporate as a standard practice, but to see how more and more farmers have been doing that and have been thankful for the solutions you brought. Well, really, that's probably one of the best rewards you can get. I mean, to really feel that you've been doing useful things. Now, I'm supporting the industry from a consultancy side, and I'm putting my experience companies or to industries that really want to continue developing this industry. And I think it's been a very nice way for me to capitalize my experience on this industry. So really excited to continue on that. Also, a lot of things happening. As you well said, new challenges will come, but it's good. It's good to have challenges because that helps you to improve and to keep seeing what you can do. So really happy.
Future will be great, I think, based on analysis that you have and just that farmers get the job done at the end of the day. We've come a long way from bulk NPK. Vatren, your thoughts on the future and how excited you are and you know the personal rewards that you see when the industry is doing good things?
Yeah, Jim, like you and I were talking offline. You know, to be in ag is almost vocational, right? And we all enter ag wanting to feed the world, help the world, and then life hits us. But what excites me is a lot of these technologies that Manel mentioned. We're on the right side of the fence because it helped us get to what we wanted when we started in ag. You know, more food, better quality of food in a safer environment. And yeah, biostimulants, value-add fertilizer formulations. You know, their goal is to get there. So it's exciting. You know, there's an old song, if you remember, it says, "The future's so bright, we gotta wear shades." Right? From Timbuktu, I think it was the group. But that's what we see. We see, economic pressures, macroeconomic challenges are always relevant, right, in our space. But we hang in there, we take the punches, and we keep going. So I'm excited. We have to be, right?
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
yeah.
Well, we'll have to revisit these subjects, gentlemen. You've been phenomenal. Your level of experience, expertise, Dunham Trimmer as a company is phenomenal as well. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
Very much.
I want to mention that you can find out more at dunhamtrimmer.com. And I really need to thank your managing partner and chief operating officer, Rick Melnick. He is a phenomenal individual, and he has been tremendous, not just in setting up this interview, but just in general. He's an amazing individual. So I appreciate you, I appreciate Rick, and I appreciate all those who could join us today.